Today I am doing a June reading wrap up. I love books, I love reading. I'm looking forward to it. Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back. Welcome if you're new here. My name is Sarah Jane and I am a PR practitioner living in DC. I make all types of content about reading, life in DC, and writing. So if that interests you, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe because it really helps support my channel. Today I am doing a June reading wrap up. I read 6 books in the month of June and I just want to take some time to talk about it because I love books, I love reading. I just think that they are an amazing thing in this world. So we're gonna chit chat about them. But as a quick aside, it is like literally 95 degrees in DC right now and it is so hot. I just literally can't be outside. So hopefully it is cooler wherever you guys are at. First book is What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. So I mentioned this book in my July reset. Loved this book. This is my first book I've read from Isabel. Our main character is Inez, who's from Buenos Aires. This takes place in the 19th century. Inez's parents are archaeologists in Egypt. They spend half their time in Egypt for 6 months and the other half of their time with Inez in Buenos Aires. And they never allow Inez to come with them to Egypt, even though she always wants to go. And so at the very beginning, her parents die, and so she goes on a quest to kind of figure out what happened in Egypt and to kind of learn a little bit more about this other life that they had. But she goes to Cairo and she's immediately pulled into this other world that of her parents that like she never knew existed. So this was such a good book. It reminded me of The Mummy. So if you like that movie, which is my favorite childhood movie, if you liked that movie with Brendan Fraser, you'll love this book. It's such a treat. I gave this book 4 stars, and the next book, which is called Where the Library Hides, is supposed to come out November 6th of this year. So the next book I read was Finlay, Donovan Jumps the Gun by Elle, Cosimano. I gave this book 3 stars. I loved the first 2 Finlay Donovan books. This is the 3rd book in this series, and I felt like the first 2 books, like it was full of mystery and like romance and like kind of what's going on. This book kind of missed the mark for me a little bit. I didn't really feel like I enjoyed it. I felt like it was very repetitive of the storyline of the first 2 books, and it took me actually a couple days to finish it, so I wasn't really a fan of this one. Alrighty, the next book I read was Funny Story by Emily Henry. This is Emily Henry's newest book. It just came out actually on April 23rd, 2024. So our main character is Daphne. She is engaged to Peter, and right at the beginning of the book, Peter and her end up breaking off their engagement because Peter is in love with his childhood best friend, Petra. Peter kicks her out of their home and she ends up rooming with Petra's now ex-boyfriend named Miles. The book is kind of essentially like how they cope with this sort of big life event, and then eventually, you know, the 2 of them get closer, and yeah, and it's a romance book. So this one, I have my ups and downs when it comes to Emily Henry. I liked Beach Read. I did not like Happy Place. And this one kind of fell somewhere in the middle for me. I did not like it more than Beach Read, but I liked it way more than Happy Place. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. I don't think there's anything wrong with this book. I just don't think I'm a really big like romance person. I think for me, when it comes to romance books, I think there needs to be another plot line. Like the romance needs to be a subplot, not the primary plot for me to really enjoy it. So by no means is this a bad book. It just wasn't my favorite book, but like I said, better than Happy Place in my opinion. So the next book I read is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know that this book was popular like a million years ago, but I am just now getting ready to read it. And honestly, I finally read it because the movie comes out at the beginning of August and it has Blake Lively in it, and I'm a huge Blake Lively fan, so I wanted to read the book before the movie actually came out. So in this book, we're following Lily. It takes place in Boston, and she meets this guy named Ryle Kincaid, who is a gorgeous neurosurgeon, and they get into a relationship, you know, but as their relationship develops, like deeper, darker things kind of come to the surface that she wasn't anticipating, and it causes a lot of strife within their relationship. I don't want to like give too much away. This was a really challenging book for me to read. Like the first half of it, I was like, I don't know if I can read this book because I don't know if I can get through it and stomach it. I'm so glad that I pushed through though. Like the ending definitely made it worth it. And I even like decided to pick up the second book. It was a good book. I actually ended up giving this book 4 stars. So if you're looking for a book to read and you want to watch the movie in August, I would recommend going ahead and picking this book up. It was actually a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so the next book I read is from Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. So this book was kind of interesting. I had no high expectations going into it. I just heard that it was really popular. I've seen it on people's favorites list, so I was like, I'm gonna give this a try. We are following Poppy, who is a maiden. A maiden is someone who is chosen from birth to usher in a new era, and she is essentially like given to the gods. So a maiden lives a very solitary life. You know, she isn't supposed to be touched. You know, she isn't supposed to be looked upon. She always wears masks. So, you know, being a maiden ain't really that much fun. But it's supposed to be an honor for her to go to her ascension, which is like when she's given to the gods. Poppy is a character who struggles with this sort of decision. Her brother was ascended, and so she knew that she should kind of go through this, but she isn't really sure if it's for her. Her mom actually ended up not ascending back in the day, but that's the only person that's ever not ascended. So she has this sort of internal struggle because she like wants to live a different life, but she's kind of stuck with the life that she's been given. And then she eventually meets this guy named Hawk, who is part of the guard, who she has, you know, guards around her at all times to take care of her, and he is part of the guard. So things begin to unravel within their relationship that causes her to think about, you know, her place within society as the maiden. And I will say, like, I thought I knew what was going to happen within the first half of this book, and then I got to like the 60% mark and I was like, what just happened? It completely took me for a twist, but I really liked it. I ended up giving this book 5 stars, which is crazy. I think that was my only 5-star read from June. The last 20% of the book really like hooked me in, so I'm definitely gonna read the second book. And then it was really interesting in the acknowledgement section, the author talks about how she like really appreciates Sarah J Maas and like the input that Sarah J Maas gave to the book. So they're friends, and I could definitely kind of see that sort of style creeping into the book. So definitely recommend. Like, loved that book so much. It was such a good read. Okay, so the last book I read in June was The Soulmate by Sally Hepworth. This was recommended to me by my neighbor. So my neighbor and I went to the bookstore and we were just like looking at books to read, and I was like, I don't know what to get, and she saw this book at the bookstore and she was like, you need to read this book. I read this book in a day. So I was like, sure, like it's a thriller. I love a good thriller, like let's go for it. So essentially there is a family who live in this house that overlooks a cliff, and the cliff is known to be a spot where people go to like commit suicide. They like jump off, and it's very well known. The man of the house, since they have bought the house, has consistently tried to talk people off the ledge, literally, and has always been successful until the beginning of this book. The person jumps and he isn't able to save them, and it really takes a toll on the whole family and his mental health. And so you're trying to kind of figure out like what happened, like why did that person jump, why is the husband acting kind of strange about this particular, you know, incident. Is it, you know, is it because somebody jumped, or did he know the person? You're not really sure. This book was very good. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was pretty short. It kept me, you know, engaged. I was super interested in knowing what was going on, and I finished it in like a day and a half. So if you're kind of in a reading slump, I think this one is a good book to kind of like get you out of that, and you know, it's a good thriller. It's a good page turner. So those are the 6 books that I read in the month of June. It was such a great reading month. I loved June, and July I plan on reading a lot of summer reads. I want to read like beach reads, and you know, just all like the kind of lighter reads like during this time, because I spend a lot of time at the pool, at the beach. I just want to read stuff that's a little bit lighter. So I think I'm not going to read any like thrillers or fantasy books in the month of July, but I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great reading month. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe because it really helps for my channel. Let me know in the comments below, if you're still watching, what books like you read in the month of June, which one was your favorite. If you have any book recommendations, I'm always looking for more books to read because I just love reading. So anywho, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.